Good evening. Welcome to beautiful downtown Las Vegas. How many people are here from the Orient? Raise your hands. You, sir. Where are you from? No, wait, don't tell me. I'm sensing you must have soul. You're a soul man. Why don't you share with everyone where you're from?
Korea.
How about that, folks?
Okay, retro go. Let's go.
Hello and welcome. Welcome and hello. This is Wait, You Haven't Seen? It's a show where we talk about movies, and specifically, we talk about a movie at least one of us has never seen before. I'm your host, Travis, aka TV's Travis. This is episode number 334, and it is also the final week of Cage-A-Palooza 2025, the all Nic Cage celebration in August of every year. And here to talk with me about 2007's Next, it is Preston returning to the show. Preston, how you doing?
After breaking everything, and we're finally talking, because we should have seen this happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise, I'm good. I'm like, what better way to end a Sunday than two long-haired, bearded men talking about a movie by Nic Cage?
Yeah. All right. So I think you may have suggested this one.
Yeah. I think when I was like, hey, movies, I want to do something because I'm not doing much, and you're like, it's Nic Cage time. I'm like, Nic Cage movies you haven't seen? I'm like, and then I just threw out some, or I can't remember if you mentioned it, and I'm like, I've definitely seen that movie, and then you haven't seen that movie, so I'm like, all right, let's roll with it.
Yeah. Okay. So what is your history with the movie Next?
There's not a lot of history. It's just one of those kind of middle of the road Nic Cage movies. I think it's kind of like, it's not a like really good, everybody talks about Nic Cage movie, or it's not a what was he thinking doing that movie Nic Cage movie. It's kind of like, I remember seeing that and having a fun time.
Okay. Yeah. I remember this coming out for a long time. I would just interchangeably mix up Next and Knowing because they're within a couple of years of each other. And it was just one of those where it was like, nope, I can't remember which one is which. And I didn't see Next in the theater, and it just I just never got around to watching it. So this was a great opportunity to watch this movie finally. What I didn't know as it got started up was that it's based on The Golden Man by Philip K. Dick.
Yeah, I don't know if I knew that going in, because I think that's now going to be a thing with us. Is I'm going to recommend a movie, and it's going to be based off a book that I didn't realize it was based off of, like the last time I was on. I seen it when I was looking for it, some general information when we talked about it. But then just when I got my notes together, I seen it was Philip K. Dick, which he always pops up randomly in like sometimes hard sci-fi or just kind of mild sci-fi, and it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, so I never read The Golden Man, but I did do a little background on this movie and sort of the adaptation of it, and it's kind of an adaptation in the way that it's a very loose adaptation of Philip K. Dick. From what I've gathered in the short, because it's only like a 50-page novella by Philip K. Dick. It's set in a dystopian future. The main character is named Chris, but he is literally a golden man. Like, he is all gold with gold hair and gold skin, and he has psychic abilities, like precognitive abilities, but he doesn't speak. He communicates differently, and the world that he lives in, there are other mutants besides him, and they're persecuted, and he gets like basically what they took from it was some kind of a precognition and the issues with the government. But that was kind of it. And in fact, I read that early versions of this script were much heavier on sort of an authoritarian governmental presence. And the studio wanted to tone that down.
I can understand, because studios be studios.
Yeah.
But I think we need a word that's even more unspecific than loosely. I think we need something even because even loosely would be giving it too much credit to be based off of this movie. It's
Yeah,
hardly
kind
even
of.
a worth mentioning based off of that information.
Well, it's one of those where the book, the guy that wrote the script for this is Gary Goldman, and Gary
Yep.
Goldman had adapted a couple of other Philip K. Dick novels in the past and been part of that. So, Total Recall was one, and also, I thought there was another one, but that's the main one that I can think of offhand that he worked on or co-wrote or something. So it sort of was a thing for him to adapt, but at the same time, saying this is an adaptation of The Golden Man is like saying I read The Golden Man once, and now I'm writing this script which has nothing to do with that. But it's close enough in like that was an influence basically is almost like influenced by
Yeah,
Philip K.
it
Dick's The
influenced.
Golden
It
Man.
would still be kind of giving it too much credit. I think this would be if you had the worst coded, barely trained LLM
Yeah,
large language model try to give you a brief synopsis of of the book that this is going to be based off of. Maybe we would have gotten here, but even then, I think the LLM would have still given you something closer to the book.
yeah. I
Yeah,
feel like
it's that's not giving it. I wouldn't say that's a discredit to. It's just one of those things where you say, "Oh, this was based off of that," and you're like, "I've read that," or I'm familiar with that. This is not that.
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
almost not worth mentioning. But I guess it kind of got. If they had it closer, they kind of got stuck into probably the contracts and everything else that we had. It had to be mentioned
that would be my
somewhere.
guess. Is like it was more of a legal thing because if you hadn't put that in the credits, based on the novella by Philip K. Dick, I'd have had no idea whatsoever.
No.
Um, but a lot of his stories have been adapted and very changed. Like Blade Runner is very different from the book "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep."
Mhm.
Even the Total Recall is very different as a movie. The Arnold Schwarzenegger movie is very different from the story. We'll remember it for you wholesale. Like that's very different. And the Colin Farrell
Yeah.
Total Recall was supposed to be closer.
Was it? I
From
mean,
what I
they like.
from what I
I'd
understood,
argue
but
those the like. I think the biggest reason why the Schwarzenegger Total Recall is considered better is because of what it was at the time. Because a lot of people say that they hated the Colin Farrell one, and I'm like,
mhm.
that was a really fun, visually appealing movie for what it was. But yeah, I think it's hard to say because it's one of those things where any in depth um, novelist, like someone like Philip K. Dick with his work, or you look at stuff like Tolkien and um, any number of the like really in depth, dense ones, it's so hard to adapt. Even the ones that are not as dense are very hard to adapt.
Oh yeah, for
So,
sure.
but
That was the
still,
other one. He
hard.
didn't get credit for it, or he may have gotten a minor credit, but Minority Report. He
Oh,
had written a script for. They ended up not using his script, but there was the scene in the car factory. I think was pulled from Gary Goldman's script
gotcha.
for Minority Report, which also is another Philip K. Dick. So
Yeah, he's got a lot of inspiration to people. He's definitely got a
mhm.
Tolkien vibe when it comes to sci-fi and
Oh, absolutely.
oh, what's his name? There's a lot of people on the sci-fi side that I can't think of their names, but like Orson Scott Card, I want to say is a
Yeah,
big
there's
one.
him. There's like Robert Heinlein. There's
Who's the guy that was the first to really do the one that iRobot was based off of?
Asimov, Isaac Asimov.
Asimov, yeah,
Yeah.
Asimov was what I was thinking. But yeah, it's one of those difficult things because you also have to look at the fact that a lot of these are sometimes decades and maybe even a century before we're actually making it, and we still have to make it relatable to
Yeah.
the time that we're doing.
And
It's fun though.
from what I've heard of what the Golden Man was, it's nothing like this movie, but would have been a very different and very odd kind of film, I think. But this decided, they just kind of kicked all that out and said, no, we're going to set it modern times, and we're just going to have one guy with powers, and we're not going to give you any explanation of where they came from or really what they can do. And I think ultimately, I would agree that this is a middle of the road Nic Cage movie, because it is not a great movie, and it's not really even a great Cage movie, but it isn't one of those like, wow, I can't believe how bad this is. It's just, it's there. And some of that is, it's a really cool conceptual thing. The idea of this guy that can see basically his own future 2 minutes ahead.
Yeah.
But
that's the core of it all. And then the subplot.
Yeah. But the execution of that idea is pretty weak, because it's so, my biggest issue I had watching it as a first time watch was the inconsistencies within the story itself. I don't mind a story that's weird or that doesn't explain things. In fact, I oftentimes really like that, but I want it to be internally consistent. If you have something that you're doing or some sort of a rule established or something that you have shown us, stick with that. But this movie felt like it just kept bouncing around to different iterations of the idea, and they never really latched onto one. So like, he can see 2 minutes into the future. Okay. That's a conceit. I'll take it. You know, how does he do it? Nobody knows. He doesn't even know. He was just born with this ability. That's fine. Like, I think that can be really interesting, but he can see 2 minutes into the future, except for whatever had to do with this girl, Liz. For whatever reason, she triggered it to work further into the future, but he didn't know how far. And so he was trying to figure that out. But they never give us anything there. Okay. Well, again, I don't really need an explanation. You can just kind of figure there's some sort of a connection between the two of them, and it amplifies it. But then there's this idea that he can see multiple iterations going forward that they kind of toy with. And that was weird to me.
Yeah, and that might have been it. That actually wasn't weird for me, because I took it as not so much that he's seeing multiple, that they're showing the fact that he can do multiple. They're just not showing it successive, like in like multiple times, like they did early in the movie. They showed it all at once later in the movie. Now, like any choice that you make in movie making, it's going to work for some people, and sometimes it won't work with others. Apparently, it worked for me, didn't work for you. So there you go.
Well, it worked, because here's the thing. In a vacuum, all of these different things going on, I really liked. Like, I liked the way we open in Vegas, and the fact that like he's a stage magician in Las Vegas, and he has this ability, so he does use it to gamble, but he does everything very low stakes, very low amounts, because he just wants to just live a normal life. And you've got the trope
he doesn't want. He's trying to avoid the attention that comes with like going crazy with gambling.
Yeah, because it would be really easy to do, but you would garner a bunch of unwanted attention. And it's the trope of like the person with abilities that just wants a normal life, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I get all that. That's cool. The romance part of things is very forced.
I'll agree with that, definitely.
And I feel like there could have been a way to do it. It was always going to be a tough one to pull off in general in this story, just because anytime you have a romance that blossoms over the course of a day, it's
one
weird.
Of my biggest nitpicks with movies where they don't have a thing where it's clearly over a significant amount of time, where they're just like, there's so many love at first sight situations. And I think the implications from Nick's character, Chris, that makes sense, because he's been seeing this lady, and I don't think we elaborated it. Basically, he's been seeing this lady show up to this diner that he was for a significant amount of time. We don't know how much. Again, one of those things. So like that's very personal to him. So he has that link. This lady doesn't know this guy.
No, not at all.
So like, to establish a relationship and him taking the time using his abilities to kind of get in, to get in there and find a way in, that's fine. But for them to get to the point of caring so deeply on her side that
Mhm.
like this is definitely a one-sided thing, like to be even to the point of friendship, I could understand, and her relating to his situation because he can prove it. Okay, but shouldn't get that like the far like
No.
anytime every time I see this in a movie, it's just like, yeah, no, I love you. I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's always
No.
tough to pull that off. It doesn't help much either when your two leads are 20 years apart in age. When you have
True.
mid to late 40s Nicolas Cage and mid 20s Jessica Biel, that gets a little strange. Plus, it did the thing. They're trying to make it a cute moment where when she finally does show up at the diner, because I think they do establish it's about a week. I think that he saw, because there's a line, I'll play it later, where they say something about like he came in here every day for a week. But basically, once she finally does show up, it's meant to be the meet cute of like him doing the over and over trying thing. But
Yeah.
at the same time, that kind of also feels a little manipulative because he's using this
Oh,
ability to do that,
100%.
and I don't like that necessarily. But that feels like a writer writing something that just he doesn't
But
see that.
yeah, it feels weird, but it also could have been just a choice to show the desperation after him seeing this person so long for him to suddenly
Mhm.
be actually meet this person
Yeah.
to do it. Now, in saying that, like he's definitely manipulating everything, but and he's not doing anything too crazy, which regretfully people definitely could have. But
Oh, for sure.
yeah, it's still kind of like in the and I don't know how far we want to go into spoilers, but the in this process, he made a line uh, that the first time made sense and it didn't work in his favor and whatever, but he did the same line again, and that felt weird to me because
Hmm.
uh, it's you may not it's talking about he said I'm your future, and the first time he says it makes sense. Like he's in the thing. He
Uh-huh.
should have realized at that point that that was the bad part of the bad choice, and then not said it the second time because the
Right.
second time it just didn't make sense to me.
No.
Because that like anyway, it was just one of those things. Like it's one of those choices where I think the first or second time I would have watched it, I never would have given it a second thought. But when I'm taking the point to watch a movie and kind of somewhat watch for the little nitpicky things
Mhm.
because I'm going to be elaborating on it. It comes to your mind. You're just like that. It made sense, but it didn't make sense the second time.
Yeah. I mean, there's a little bit of that, for sure. And it's just that part of it really didn't work. The romance of it felt too forced and too like, well, we got to have this when it very easily
Agreed.
could have been. And some of that is, I feel like maybe carried over from the Golden Man, because apparently in that story,
That's
that
true. Knowing
character
that now,
can't, he doesn't speak, but he gets out of imprisonment by having this miraculous ability to seduce any woman, which was weird to hear about. And I'm like, that seems
yeah.
odd. Um, and he used that to get out of this prison, and that's how he escaped.
So
So maybe there
that
was
makes
some remnants of that being used here. I don't know.
yeah, and I like it. Kind of makes sense that he would have that quote unquote ability because he's basically just taking advantage of the ability he has in this
Mhm.
situation where he can actually speak. But if someone who can't speak and can't communicate as well, that's a different ball game. It makes less sense in
Yeah.
the original. But yeah, but the if they were looking at the two and pushing that, then yeah, it kind of makes sense that he's going overboard because I think the plot line between them could have made a lot more sense if he focused on just knowing who this person is, not so much romantically,
Yeah.
but just understanding, getting to know her, being friends, and all this kind of stuff. A lot of that still could have happened. Those moments trying to get it, like just to say hello,
Mhm.
you know, because you clearly find out that kind of running away from somebody. So you have to approach it. He'd have to take the time to approach it correctly, and still kind of do what he did to deal with what she was running from. I'm being vague. I don't even know if I should need to be vague.
No, we're gonna spoil the hell out of this movie because I'm talking
All
about
right.
the end of it for sure. So yeah, if
No, I know,
it,
but I didn't know if we wanted to hold off until
we'll get
on.
there. But I mean,
in general, though, So I'll just say that if he would have focused less, the movie would have focused on less with Chris and Liz getting together romantically, and just him trying to figure out who this person was that he seen outside of his normal abilities and got to know, and then try to understand why.
Yes,
that arc would have worked a lot better. The rest of the arc that comes along later still doable.
Oh, for sure. I mean? No, absolutely. You can do everything they did towards the end of this movie without having to have the romantic part of it. And I feel bad because I like Jessica Biel a lot, but she's not given anything to really do in this movie. She should have. Like, her character should have been better written to be more interesting. But all we learn is that she teaches at a reservation, because we start in Las Vegas, we end up in going to Flagstaff.
Yeah.
But she teaches on a reservation, and then she just becomes a damsel in distress at the end.
That's exactly the case. You're very much right.
Yeah. Which is a bummer because, again, I think that it could have been, I'm with you. I think that you have, instead of Cage, like, I get him being smitten and sort of like intrigued by her, because why is he seeing her of all the humans on the earth? Why is she in his vision? But I think that it would have worked better if it was just like, I want to understand who you are and why am I seeing you, instead of we got to get together. Plus, there's the whole thing where she does you start getting creepy. I'll give you a ride because I'm going in that direction. But you start being creepy, I'm going to kick you out of the car. And then they got to stay at a motel. And then the next morning she's just walking out of the shower wrapped in nothing but a towel by the guy that she was worried about being creepy less than 24 hours ago.
The whole comfortable with this person. It just escalates so quickly.
It does, and with nothing to give us that indication at all. Like, it goes from, he tells one bad joke before going to sleep in the car. Like, I liked that. I liked the fact that they got to the motel and she
that part was a good choice, no matter what the circumstances, I think.
Yeah, but I just love, like, her being a little apprehensive, like, Chris, this room, and he goes, no, don't worry about it. I'm going to sleep in the car. Yeah, like,
that was definitely fit, because even if they were going the approach of friendship, like, there's still a guy and a girl that have only known each other for a couple of hours, so that's just a reasonable thing. And they could have done that scene that you mentioned about the towel, talking, through the bathroom, not in, and her come out dressed. It's not that much of an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that, it still would have worked fine.
Sure. Nope. Absolutely.
Choices.
It's always choices. Okay. I can tell watching this movie that initially the FBI / NSA or whatever government agency it's supposed to be, FBI, I think it's mainly, FBI,
Mm-hmm.
Were sort of the antagonists. And then somewhere along the line, the script got updated to include random Russian terrorists that speak French. Because I think that Julianne Moore's character was meant to be more the main antagonist for Chris throughout the movie, and then to have the twist of, like, him working with them at the end.
Yeah, could have been.
Because the terrorists are the most, like, underdeveloped, bland, just random terrorist with nuclear weapon.
You could do, like, the story plot with that could easily be worked, and you don't need to necessarily work it much, but, like, they didn't, like, I felt that it was like a terrorist group, but the people we were dealing with were mercenaries helping the terrorist group. But that was inferred by me. It's not obvious, because, like you said, like, it was implied that there might be Russian or whatnot, and or European, and the main you briefly see the people that fit that description, but then there's these like 5 or 6 people that are multiple nationalities, 2 or 3 of them which were French. So you didn't. It's not obvious. I think my brain just automatically were like, okay, mercenaries, they're working with it. But I mean, you're right though. Like it doesn't. I shouldn't have to necessarily infer that. Not in a movie like this. Like
Yeah.
there's certain movies where inference is fun to throw around,
Mhm.
but that's not this movie.
But
You're definitely right on that.
it just feels like they were tacked on to have those characters there as the big bad, the actual bad guys, and not the FBI, not the government.
It could be. It's hard. It's hard to know what they were thinking because obviously they went from script based off of a very old novella that doesn't look like this movie at all. So who knows what kind of routes and back and forths they had to go through and had the usual fun studio interference. But yeah, no, I don't mind the way that part worked. But yeah, there's just these little nuances throughout the movie where I'm just like, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
there's a lot of those.
But in the end, even though I was nitpicking a lot of more stuff than I did the first 1 or 2 times I've seen this movie, like I still enjoyed my time, and that's always what I look for. As we talked the last time I was on the show.
Oh yeah, and I do too. And that's my main thing: is did the movie entertain me? And this movie did entertain me, but I definitely had issues with the story, and I also think that Lee Tamahori, as the director, isn't a bad director. But I don't feel
definitely not.
I mean, I definitely felt a lot of the same issues that I had with his previous movie, Die Another Day, the James Bond movie.
Yeah, that's the funny thing is this is the same thing. Like when I brought up the notes for the movie, and I made sure I had some stuff on the director because unless they're a huge director, I never remember their names.
That's fair. I'm weird. And
so yeah, no, I seen some stuff that I've seen before. So I was like, okay, I've heard of this, I've heard of that. And I'm like, oh, I've seen Die Another Day. That feels right. Triple X State of the Union.
Yep.
Yeah. That fits in. What was the other one I had seen before? Oh, that actually I think was probably, not that it was more enjoyable, but probably a little bit more put together. Along Came a Spider.
Along Came a Spider I really liked.
Yeah, I think that movie was more cohesive. That was the word I was looking for.
Yes.
But I don't think very much other than that do I know that I've seen.
And I think cohesive is a great way to put it because I think that's what this movie, for me, the reason why it's just sort of it's all right type of movie is that cohesion. It's the fact that like I love kind of the opening. I love certain moments along the way, but at the same time, they feel weirdly disjointed. Because I love when they get to that at the end we have like the big shootout climax, and then they get into that building and they're searching for Liz. And I loved in a vacuum the idea of the way his ability worked and visually how they showed it with him splitting up and we see all the different versions of him as he's running through the permutations. I thought that was cool and I thought it looked really cool. But at the same time, at that point in the movie, I was like, well, wait, but he's never done anything quite this way before. And so we're changing our ability again to sort of fit the moment. But it was cool.
Yeah, and it definitely was cool because they showed off. They really eased into it where they could have kind of went in some of the earlier moments in the movie. They could have kind of did that kind of thing just to show that he's capable of, and it doesn't have to be more like significantly elaborate. Like because the first real big scene, you just see him taking advantage of everything. You don't see any differences. You just see his choices that he makes. Right, living through and escaping.
Oh, that by the way, that is a great one.
Is the same thing. It's just more grandiose. But you don't like so. If they would have kind of not necessarily in the same scale, but kind of teased a little stuff like that in the first or second scene, then you definitely would have gotten more appreciation for them just going full, turn up the knob to
Yeah.
max when at the end.
Because the way he gets away from the security guys in the casino, that scene, I loved that. That was so well staged and done, where it's just like, that's I can see 2 minutes into the future, because he's just, he knows where they're going to be looking and when they're going to be looking there, because he's seen it already. And just the way it all played out and the pacing of that all was awesome. And I really liked that. And it was very simple to do. So it felt very different to see the way they did it at the end. But I'm like, all right, I can give you this one. I like the way it worked out. Same thing with the car chase, right? He leaves the hotel, the casino, steals the car, which, by the way, if you're trying to keep a low profile, just stealing a car is not a great way to do that. Just a thought. But
yeah, it's definitely, and again, it's an inference that, because you don't kind of show like probably a big point of it, because you know what he's doing, but they don't show like the elaborateness of what could happen. The inference there is he already did a bunch of options, and the only good one to get away was the car.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But like, you just don't feel that until you're looking back at it because of those moments. Whereas if they would have thrown in 1 or 2 moments, kind of like this scene where, well, they didn't even do it in any other scene until really in the end. If they would have just done a little bit more moments like that first thing in with the guy with the gun, and maybe him splitting off to do different things just in those, first scenes or two, then you could have been a lot easier for people to infer that, okay, he's as weird as this car chase feels, he only had an option for a car that really worked, that was available to him. I think my biggest issue is I can easily infer with this stuff. Damn ADHD thinking things through.
It's just one of those where I was like, as I'm watching it, I'm like, you just mentioned how you try to keep a low profile, then you walk out and steal a car. All right, cool.
Yeah, exactly.
But it makes for a great scene, although some of the visual effects in this I want to talk about in a little bit didn't age particularly well.
I know that was on my nitpicky list for sure.
But I do love kind of that scene. So I mentioned Julianne Moore, and I like Julianne Moore a lot. I really do.
As do I.
Didn't love her in this. I think similar to Jessica Biel, she's not given much to do. She's given more of a character. But it felt to me, what do you think of this? It felt to me like she was cast, and I have no idea if this is true or not, but that she was cast very late in the process and not given a lot of time to work on the character before filming. Because there were times where she felt very wooden.
Yeah, like it's I never thought the stuff through, because as I mentioned before we started the video stream, I just watched this movie before we started, finished it like 45 minutes prior, and so all my nitpicky is just in my head, so I never got a chance to think it through. But that's definitely a possibility, because she is definitely been good in so many things that I've seen.
Oh yeah.
Oddly enough, the last thing I seen her in was something I was hunting for, which was Assassins. Rewatched that last month or so, but she felt like that role felt, appropriate for her and what she's doing. But yeah, whatever the circumstances were, if she just maybe she just didn't have her acting slider up on high enough, right, to really feel correct. So yeah, she might have been called in late, something like that, because that definitely would account for the fact that she did, you can almost think this is like some people refer to in other movies as kind of a little bit overacting, because some of it did feel like, I don't know, wooden doesn't feel the right word for me, but like it definitely felt forced, or like she was kind of going a little bit heavier on what is appropriate, because her demeanor, her willingness and desire towards her goal, and her choice to get to that goal, which dealing with Chris, the character of Nic Cage, I think that's fine, but it's just her levels were off. There you go. That's my analogy. Her levels were off. So
she's
like
Julianne Moore. Yeah, Julianne Moore is a much better actor than this movie would lead you to believe.
100%.
For one, and the character isn't given a whole lot and is kind of inconsistent because she seems to be very driven and very focused to find him.
Yeah.
But then, and it's all because of, we're on a time crunch. We've got to find this bomb. Yep. But then there's a couple of moments where she seems to understand him a little bit better. But then when they do kind of capture him, she's very cold to him in that scene in the chair with those, the glasses to hold his eyes open so he can watch the news. Exactly. And but then she's fine again after that with him. So it was much like the rest of the movie, very up and down, inconsistent. And she's better than her performance in this movie.
Yeah, 100%. Like her, whatever the circumstances, like how loud and she was, and like in certain situations kind of felt a little bit off. If she would have played it more stern and maybe yelling when really appropriate, I think a lot of those choices would have just made sense, because you would have just associated this person being very stoic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if it was played that way, then it would have she would have done what she done in many other movies where she was just like, yeah, she's great. Nick and her would have probably stole it. Nick did what Nick does, and and it usually works when he rolls these.
Yeah, and honestly, he's very understated in his performance in this. There's no like super big bombastic moments to really go
not too much. No, there was a couple crazy. Where I found in rewatching it, some of his physical choices were a little bit odd, but that could have just been a choice. There's not a lot compared to what some of the stuff Nick's done in the past. But I mean,
like one of the choices in this was the hair. I don't know what that choice was, but that
who knows. But the beauty of it is, I think that the only reason why it's not like completely doesn't work is because he's just this side. His main profession is just kind of like low bit magician, and he's a performer. Only reason it works, because if that wasn't the backstory, I don't know if it worked, unless he was like a musician or something weird.
Well, and the thing about it is, like, Nicolas Cage is a decent looking guy, and he's still in great shape here too. There's a couple scenes where he's shaving, where he takes his shirt off, and I'm like, well, he's still in great shape. But that haircut was not doing him any favors at all. And there's a couple moments of his movements, like there's a bullet dodge he does at one point from the sniper. That, again, cool moment, cool idea, but it looks so funny because it almost looks like he's doing like a hair flip when he moves.
I didn't notice that, but I think I could think back on it. But yeah, you're right.
It doesn't.
I think I was focusing more on the shoulder than the head.
Yeah, like
he was almost shot in the shoulder.
It didn't look as cool as maybe they thought it was going to look. Like the follow through and the execution on it was just not quite there. But overall, like, I think his performance is very solid in this, because I do like when I love when Nic Cage goes full Cage and goes crazy and does all of that. It's
in the right role.
Mm-hmm. But here,
if it's not in the right role, then you're just like, what's going on here?
Yeah. But I did like him in this. I thought he was fine. I can't really complain about that. My complaints aren't even with Julianne Moore. It's not her fault necessarily. It feels like an underwritten character that she just wasn't given enough time to do anything.
It could easily have been she was a victim of circumstance, no matter what like the result was. Definitely.
And like Thomas Kretschmann, who was playing our kind of main terrorist bad guy. I like him as an actor, but he's given literally nothing to do. Like, you could have put anybody in that role.
He's definitely in his for the most part, like one of his throwaway flicks that shows up as a bad guy, because it's so. He's definitely one of those where you're just like, oh, he's the bad guy. Like, if you see him, I think can only associate him with not being the bad guy in one film, but you didn't realize it until later. And I want to say that's Wanted.
Yeah, he's in that. And again, he's one that I think is really good. He's just not given anything. Like, you could.
No, it's the same thing. Like, he plays that role well. no matter like what he does. At least from what I've seen, and I've seen him in a number of things. Like you just got that association.
Yeah.
He's actually like going back to kind of feeling stoic, like that I was suggesting for Julianne Moore. That's how he plays this, and
Yeah.
it's great, and it works.
Also, Jim Beaver
Yeah,
pops up.
I forgot completely that Jim Beaver was in this.
And once again, a
love seeing
role
Jim
that
Beaver
you could have
randomly.
put anybody in that role and it doesn't make a difference. Like you didn't need Jim Beaver for
true.
it. And I feel like he was kind of wasted here because I like him. And
Yeah, and
he's just-
granted, I also think that this was before Jim Beaver had anything significant, because I don't know if he had any significant roles that lasted a long time before Supernatural. I could be wrong about that.
no, but I
But-
think Supernatural had started around this time.
I want to say it was 2005 that Supernatural hit. So,
but still, I mean, okay,
it's true. He has the ability to be a lot more, but he had 2 scenes with 2 or 3 lines in both scenes.
It's basically nothing.
It could easily been anybody.
But to contrast that, like so it's a waste of Jim Beaver, but then Peter Falk shows up for one scene.
You can't like
And
I don't
he
even
was
have a
awesome.
big love for Columbo, but I can appreciate that you just can't waste him. You just like
Yeah.
put him in there, he's fine. It's great. It's like
And-
it's like the salt when you on pretty much anything. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's the beautiful seasoning that makes everything kind of pop.
But that worked better because you really only needed that character of Irv for like he doesn't advance the plot at all, but you can get away with that early in your movie while you're establishing your characters. But like I kept waiting for the Jim Beaver character to do something more, to be more involved, and he's just sort of not there for the rest of the movie. He has his couple of
there
scenes
could have
and then he just
been
disappears.
choices, cuts,
Yeah.
any number of things flicking
Probably.
around the script, because he could have thrown it in a couple of more scenes throughout. He could have been involved. It's 100%.
And I feel like maybe early versions of the script probably had that when it was more focused on the FBI and that
Oh yeah,
authoritarianism.
exactly. If that was the case, he definitely would have had more.
So, but I mean, it's fine. Like again, the movie is fine. I do have some fun clips to play though, because there was a lot of those in here, and as well as
I mean,
like
fun
moments.
clips you could play 80% of the movie.
Probably.
So yeah, let's see what you picked.
So this was the one. I'm pretty sure this establishes our timeline in terms of how long he had seen Liz beforehand, and I just like this exchange. And this also, I'll mention something else about this.
So he came in twice a day for a week at exactly 8:09.
Yeah, he'd stay a few minutes, have a martini, and then he'd go. Till today when he met that lady.
You didn't find anything strange about that?
All right, so a few things are strange about that. Number one, guy coming in twice a day, every day for a week at exactly the same time. All right, that's a little weird. Only stays long enough, stays for a few minutes and then leaves. That's a little weird. Ordered a martini in a diner.
I mean, in Vegas, I mean, it's possible, but I mean, at that time at night, listen, I'll 100% give you every bit of credit, considering you've been to Vegas and I've only seen it in movies and TV.
I can't imagine, or in the type of, first of all, that diner is like in LA, I think, where the actual location where they shot.
Oh, okay,
does,
yeah.
It does feel very much like it's your typical Greasy Spoon diner, and he's sitting there with a martini with olives in it. Just cracked me up. There was something about that visual that just got me. But
well, especially because the initial visual, because like in the evening, it doesn't feel too weird. Like even if you could do it, but I mean, we're talking about him not knowing what time of day it's supposed to be. So it's evening and morning, and you see it first in the morning. So you're just like, dude.
Yep. So that just cracked me up. I also, we haven't mentioned him yet, but let me find his name. Jose Zuniga. I mispronounced that. It's terrible. Zuniga.
There's hard.
But
names.
I like him as a character actor. He's great. He was the security chief in the casino.
Oh yeah. He shows up everywhere.
He
the
Stigma in the
though.
chat mentioned, by the way, it's another Con Air reunion. Nic Cage and Jose were in Con Air together because he was the DEA agent in that.
He was he was one of the DEAs, and Com and what's his face? That was the other main lead from the movie. I would like to say though that's definitely the only time they mention it's a week, so it's been at least a week.
Mm-hmm.
But me being me and thinking about it, that could just be the fact that he found the diner within that week. He could have been seeing this person forever. But either way, like you get a decent time frame to know that this person he's seeing something for, even if it's only a week, that's a significant period in difference than the 2 minutes that he's been used to. So you definitely establish that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I love when the FBI come up to the security chief. This was just a great way to introduce themselves.
You Roybal?
It's Roybal.
Whatever.
Just
Roybal.
just dismissive. But Roybal, I like that. And then later on when they pick him back up, because this is the only other one I got with him, but they pick him up, they bring him to their command center, whatever it is, the semi truck they're working out of. And they ask him like 2 questions and make him leave. And just, this fits this movie, but this was such a terribly written line.
Hey, she's single?
Come on, dude. Really?
Yeah. Like, why?
We
You could have taken advantage of what you probably had a PG 13 rating or whatnot, and just thrown the F-bomb in there. That would have felt more plausible.
Yeah.
Because this guy just was taken out of his routine, thrown to the truck to hear 2 things, answer 1 question essentially, and then he's kicked out.
And all he can ask is she single? Come on.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
It just doesn't work there. Yeah, exactly.
I mentioned Peter Falk. Peter Falk is great, and this moment was hilarious.
20 minutes to walk 20 steps. Well, that's what you get from 2 packs a day.
Oh, hey.
You know what? That's all you need him for. It's fine. I loved it. It was a great moment, and just gave us a little like anchor point to go off of. He's never mentioned again, but man, Peter Falk is awesome. Especially in his advanced age. He was great. Let's see. I've got I've only got a couple of Jessica Biel clips because again, she's just not given.
No, she's
anything.
She's most of her time is not spoken. So,
but I did like this when this is them walking in the reservation, which the IMDb goofs were great because it talked about, they pull up, they get out of the car, they like basically walk down a pathway and they're at the reservation. And apparently geographically that would be like hours of walking. So I thought that was funny, but I just like they're walking along. And I think this is when he made some kind of a comment and she says,
You are odd.
Yes, he is. He is very odd.
I mean, from the limited experience that she's gotten to this point, like there's 100% that. Was that just after him asking about if she knew if the tribe she was teaching at had a shaman?
I think so. I think it was right around there. I also liked this.
Because the first psycho vibe I get, you're out of the car.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, that didn't last very long because he gave off some weird vibes. She let him stay in the car.
Apparently, she's got a series of different vibe meters. Some are psycho, some are like eyebrow raising.
When he meets her in the diner, I captured this, and this was this is another character actor that I've seen a lot in things. Yeah. Michael Trucco. I most recently watched him in The Fall of the House of Usher, and he was phenomenal in that series.
I've seen him in so many things. I'm rewatching so many shows, so
he's been in a ton. But this moment here was Super Stalker, where he walks into the diner and he sits down with her, and just the way this all went out.
Do you know how hard it was to find you? I was at your apartment. I tried the Starbucks on Lexington. I was at the dry cleaner. All I am asking for is a few minutes of your time so that we can work things out.
Nope, you're not getting those few minutes, bud. That's creepy.
Yeah,
by any standard.
essentially the writers were asked, we need you to confirm that this person is stalking her in as shortest period possible.
Yep.
Or like, so you're like the second line, we're like, yeah, great.
Yeah. No, perfect.
And
Knew it.
success.
So Julianne Moore later on, they're trying to find where these people, these terrorists, are coming from, and they killed Roy Ball, which happened off screen, and all we get is that they left no evidence. And then later on, they found a woman dead in an apartment overlooking where the office was.
Yeah.
And the funny thing there was, her throat was slit, and there was no other evidence there. Yet we saw her lying dead without her throat cut in the movie.
I missed that.
That cracked me up. But they found the pill bottle.
Yeah,
and
they made a point of showing that.
Yeah, they made a point of showing the pill bottle fall, and then later on, the FBI has it, and it was her reaction to looking at the pill.
The only reason to take it is to prevent radiation poisoning.
Is that really the only reason to take whatever that was?
I forget what it was, potassium something.
Yeah, I don't.
And it's one of those things I've heard in the past, but a slight change to that line would have been something like, one of its main purpose is to help with radiation poisoning. It's not like the finite thing that she threw out there, because everybody knows that everything can be used for everything.
Yeah,
there's never a one thing.
Yeah, that is the speech of somebody who doesn't actually know something.
Yes,
and so they make that declarative statement. So it is that. I also
because I'm like that myself, because they're saying it kind of hyperbolically a lot, but a lot of people will say, well, only happens in this situation. I'm like, maybe mostly.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Yeah. This was another one from Julianne Moore. And I liked this line, but I didn't love the delivery. And this is that moment where I'm talking about where it's inconsistent, because she hasn't been this harsh to him, but then.
Now you can exercise your responsibility to help your fellow man, or I will exercise that responsibility for you.
I mean, I guess, but it's one of those. I get, like, her character's supposed to be very stressed out and very under the gun in terms of, we've got to find this bomb.
Yeah, and this could have been easily one of those situations that would have felt more understandable if we had those, like, had some more scenes with Beaver, just pushing her to be like, you've got the go ahead, we've got approval to, cross that line if need be.
Yeah.
Right?
I think also it might work a little bit better if she doesn't have him strapped to a chair at the time.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That didn't help.
Like,
and then there was this exchange between the two of them. So okay, I'll play this and then we'll talk.
Don't do it.
I already have.
Okay, so this is right before the big action set piece where he walks out of the hotel. Yeah. And they're looking at each other. She's standing by the vehicle with, like, binoculars, and there was several push-in shots and this was where I was like, that hair, the hair, I could not see it. But she says, "Don't do it," and he responds with, "I already have." Here's my issue with that. His ability is to see 2 minutes into his own future. Does that also include being able to hear at long distance? Because he never once got close enough to her to hear that. So his reaction to it of "I already have" felt really like, that just felt like movie script writing.
A little bit, but thankfully they kind of implied his ability to kind of do that early, and talked about it early when he is being watched at security when he's playing blackjack, and they start talking about him and what they're going to look into and probably check on him to see if he's counting cards, and he looks at the camera at that moment, and there's other discussion about it later. So they kind of implied that once you get into his world, he can see it. Now, whether it works or not, whole different ball game. But
I took the whole thing with the casino though as he just looked up at the camera because he saw into the future that they sent security to go see him, so he knew where the camera was, and that's why he looked up when he did, versus being able to like hear them necessarily.
Yeah.
But again, that's part of the not giving us an explanation.
Well,
of his
yeah,
abilities.
that's the same thing where there's certain things that in a movie like this that you should not be able to infer multiple situations from. It should be a situation where it's pretty like you can branch from something, but like you should understand that, you know, this is for this. Like it works in, you know, movies that will pay it off, you know, later in the thing where you can just kind of like, I think that's going to happen over there, and then you find out later it did. But yeah, it may not work here, but that's the way I took it. Why that moment actually worked for me. It just because it outside of that thinking, when you kind of have a feeling that's you know that was already shown off early in the movie, it that those lines really work because she's focused on him, so she's in his 2-minute bubble, so he knew that he just said it, so it would be the appropriate response. But same thing, if they don't clearly state it where 90% of the people get the same pull from a line or a scene, then it's, you know, it doesn't work as well for everybody.
Yeah, like it makes for a great moment. In a vacuum, that's a really cool moment.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it led to that huge action sequence and that was one of those where the CG for a lot of the stuff just didn't hold up very well. It's no fault other than they just didn't have the technology at the time to really make it work.
The same thing at the time, we never, like, I don't remember any of these CG thoughts when I seen this the first time, but it was also 23 years ago.
Almost 20, 18 years ago.
18, sorry. I went the wrong way. So yeah, like we're talking about also the quality of the movie you see is not the same, right? So like, you know, they didn't.
Oh yeah.
It might have even still been in film, but this is how good was that film and stuff like that. So I've never noticed it in the same way. But this time where I'm on my 65-inch TV and it was probably like, I can't remember if I was on 1080p or not, but still, like, you know, that's when these things really come out.
Yeah, it stood out.
The nuances. There was a time, one of the first one I noticed, which felt weird to be a thing that would have happened. One of the cars that was falling, like I could see clearly was not there.
Yeah,
that had to be, you know, fixed or put in afterwards. So I was just like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
And then thankfully the scene itself kind of took me back out of that because there was some really fun moments, but then it took into what I alluded to earlier. There's a scene when he's running down this hill with all this stuff going on and he stops because he's waiting for a moment. But then in the moment where he's dodging the logs, he decided to pull like a full raise his hand and go down moment, which I'm like, what's going on here? Why can't you just duck?
Right?
Why do you need what like you don't have a cape on? Like
much like the bullet dodge from just earlier in that same scene, that felt like a move that they thought was going to look really cool and it just didn't look as cool.
And as much as I love Nic Cage with his Nic Cage-iness, I've got a feeling that's his
that was
his
totally
choice to do that.
Yeah.
Which
Speaking
the guy wanted to be Superman.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Speaking of Cage moments, I got some Cage quotes to play because these are always great. You can't have a movie set in Las Vegas. There's two things that always have to happen in any movie that's in Las Vegas. Number one, Elvis. Also, Nic Cage loving Elvis. So we got an Elvis song, but then you also have to hear.
And what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Because of course you're going to hear that one.
It's one of those things you look for, and there's a really good chance. That's like in a lot of action movies where you're just waiting for the Wilhelm scream. Like it's just flip the coin, you're probably going to get it.
Oh, for sure. I also liked.
Did somebody say spooky?
I don't know why that one got me.
It's a good line, but it felt weird.
It felt very Vegas stage magician though.
like its delivery and whatnot, but the word spooky didn't feel right to me when I rewatched it earlier. I don't know why.
They don't do a whole lot with voiceover, and also feels like maybe something that they could have gotten away with not having it had they done explanation throughout the movie, but I didn't mind them. And I got a couple of those. This one was pretty good.
I'm not a god. I can't see everyone's future. Only my own. And only within 2 minutes.
That's a cool conceit. Like, I like that idea. It's an interesting idea. And then also I really liked this to kind of back that up.
Here's the thing about the future. Every time you look at it, it changes. Because you looked at it.
Yeah, those are like, and granted, the story kind of covers the first line within it anyway, but it's still good to put it out there early, so you could, because if it didn't, then a lot of that fun scene of him trying to escape wouldn't have worked. But the second line was very important, I think, to as another anchor to how the story kind of fulfilled itself.
Mm-hmm. And it is the time travel paradox, right? Of everything you do changes what's going to happen, and so how could you predict the future based on the fact that just knowing that you're predicting the future would then make, and you can just screw yourself right into the ground trying to overthink it. So it's one of those that you do have to park your brain a little bit, and anything involving future time stuff, or time travel in general. But still, it was fun, and I like those two lines.
They're good.
Let's see. This one's here's another one.
Gotta be soon. I've never seen further ahead than 2 minutes. Except for her.
I just thought that was a cool moment where he's trying to figure things out.
Yeah, and it's the same thing, establishing that focus on her and why.
Yeah.
If only briefly.
I just like this delivery.
You like magic tricks.
Yeah, I do.
You like magic tricks. I just like that.
Yeah, because he's just very surprised. We're like, oh, man, you like magic? Like, I was hoping you didn't.
And the whole like, oh, I remember, yeah, I saw you at the show and all that. Which, by the way, that scene I think took place over 3 minutes when she first shows up at the garage, but then he rewinds it.
I was thinking about that when I was watching it.
I think it felt longer than 2 minutes. It could
definitely
just
felt longer than 2 minutes.
I like, again, this trope.
So please, leave me alone. And let me live some semblance of a normal life.
You know, just that normal life. I just want to live some semblance of a normal life.
The normal life
I get it.
Of trying to be under the radar and betting at blackjack.
Yeah.
And being a stage performer.
Well, and I liked his explanation where when he was a kid, he was somebody, like, they figured this whatever out, and so he was studied.
What was it? 16 hours of guess the next cue card.
Yeah.
That I don't care if I got them all wrong or like just the whole idea of sitting down and just like being shown a blank card and see if I'm correct. That in itself should be turned into torture when needed.
Yeah. Here's some more of that forced romance.
That was incredible.
What was?
Yes.
I mean,
and that if the romance made sense somehow in this movie, or if maybe they took this idea and kind of pushed it into a series of movies, and it was like this was like a number of episodes in, that line would have been great.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Again, in a vacuum.
Here it just doesn't work.
No, not at all.
It just doesn't work.
Here's him strapped to the chair with those glasses, which are meant to hold his eyes open, but I feel like would have made it harder for him to see. It's just the way that they were shaped felt like it would be really difficult to see.
To me, they didn't look like glasses so much as those fun little things that they use in whatnot, just kind of metal pieces. That keep your eyelids.
Yeah, I call them glasses.
But it's still, it kind of throws you off because
the size and shape of them were such that it just looked fun.
It might have, but even then, because there's a point where you can see, but you can't, or you can look, but you can't see.
Yeah.
like granted, like they didn't do it for long, but if it would have lasted a long time, then it kind of it just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. But I did like his line here.
What about my freedom?
With freedom comes responsibility.
Okay, but also,
I mean, you
like,
kind of bypassed responsibility at that point.
a little bit,
because you're strapped to a chair, right? It wouldn't even have been an issue if it was just like sitting in a chair and he's kind of locked up. You're strapped to the chair, aforementioned eye clamps, and here's a TV that we want you to watch to help us save the world. Which, okay, sure, but eye clamps.
Yeah. Yep. Again, this is a line that I feel like they don't earn because the romance is too forced, but also you could have used this same line without the romantic aspect and just him being a caring person.
Every way I try this, she still ends up dead.
That whole idea that like every time he's trying, like he can't figure out a way out of it.
Yeah, you don't necessarily. You just need to care about someone for that line to work. You don't even need to have it romantic. You just need that. I've established you as a friend. I know you're linked to me for some reason, so I care about you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to be like, I've known you for a few hours, and the line itself definitely works. It just didn't need the extra stuff coming along with it.
This one was just a funny pronunciation.
On the roof.
On the roof.
I noticed that too.
I don't know why. It's just roof. The word roof being pronounced roof is like when I hear somebody call an internet device a router, and it just it makes me twitch a little.
What's the British one? Actually, is it router the British one? Is one of them?
That might be.
But yeah, no, it's one of those weird pronunciation things. But
it's not really wrong.
Cage and even his character didn't feel like the appropriate person to be using the pronunciation.
No, it didn't. It just sounded so funny coming out of his mouth.
Or it could be just one of those situations where we just never heard Nic Cage say roof before.
That's also very true. Let's see. I got two more. There was this one.
How are you doing this?
I have no idea how, but I can. I was born with it.
That's fine. That's all the explanation I need. I don't need a big explanation of what it is, but consistency in how it worked would have been kind of nice, because it did feel like at times, even though he can only see 2 minutes into the future, it did feel like at times it was longer and then not. But was that tied to her?
Yeah, there was
a
few times where it felt not the 2 minutes, and it wasn't within Liz's situation, which they kind of explained. And as we mentioned before, like we didn't get enough early in the movie to really clearly show if you're in his consciousness or in his bubble because you're looking at him in some fashion, then he can see you in those 2 minutes. Like they established it kind of, but not clearly between the two of us. And I mean, if you can't get 2 out of 2, then you're definitely having a problem. So even though, like I said, I think 80% is probably the point you should go for in these types of things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it causes those problems where you have those moments where you just don't feel like it works. Whereas if they didn't establish the Beale thing, her character in early on to really think it's only been around her, then the end scene would have just not made any sense at all. Well, like for a lot of it, right? And then that middle scene led up to it definitely wouldn't have made any sense. Yeah. So there's, and it's an hour and a half, a little over an hour and a half. So they had some room to kind of push it out to maybe, another 10 minutes to just get a few little scenes in there to establish those moments a little bit better.
I do. I feel like this movie could have benefited from just a little bit more runtime, just a little bit to I don't necessarily need an exposition dump, but I need a little bit more just to help us along. In part because this last clip I've got,
I made a mistake.
The ending. I did not like this ending.
No.
And I didn't like this ending because it felt like a incredible cop-out ending that if this was a series and based on a short, novella, you could have extrapolated this out. And if this is a series, you make that the end of your first episode to do it this way. I can get that, right? Because then you can spend time saying, okay, well, now here's what he did because he made this mistake. And sort of where he goes from there. But this whole idea that from basically the whole last half of the movie, from like the 45-minute mark on, is all him seeing into the future, which he's never been able to see that far outside of her before. And then we wind it all back to that moment. I was just like, when they pulled the camera out from his eye and he's still laying in bed with her, I was like, oh, what? No, we're not ending this way. We can't. No, movie, you don't get to do. And then they did, and that bugged me.
And in contrary for the same situation, kind of like the moment earlier, I thoroughly loved the ending for that reason. I think they probably could have gone instead of just leaving the thing at the end and just saying, just talking. They could have literally had shorter scenes into him explaining and giving some information to really solidify the fact that the Julianne Moore's character and her team were successful. But I think the fact of them, because especially for me, I'm like, these things were established for me, which holds back to the fact that like they could have put more time to establish what he figured out his powers were aligned, because she was involved around it and she was with him at the time. She basically empowered his abilities. He doesn't know why. We don't know why.
Yeah.
To see further. Now,
which
certain choices obviously come down around, but that I don't know why that kind of stuff. Like sometimes it's 100% tropey. I can see this being kind of like 50, 60% tropey, but for me, for whatever reason, it worked. Because and a big part of it, I think, is I didn't see that coming. And knowing now that a lot of these little nuances for a lot of movies that are just like, oh yeah, that's that guy and he's going to be that thing and that's fine and I'll still enjoy it. Any movie that can just not make me surprised about something automatically gives me some dopamine, and I remember that dopamine because I want the dopamine.
Sure. And the ambiguity of the ending, I didn't mind. Like the idea that he decides he's going to help Julianne Moore now, and then they just drive off. I like that. It was the, oh no, everything you just saw, none of that really happened. When we've seen him rewind short instances, but here, this was him using his ability within using his ability. We got very Inception in it because he's like, how does that work? And
exactly.
I think that's where
so
it was.
That's why it comes back to those moments where we were talking earlier, where they didn't really give a set idea of the fact that he can look at things so many different ways, right? Like we really mainly get the fact that he kind of looks at it singularly, whereas a lot of it is more kind of implied that he kind of goes more Doctor Strange from Infinity War, flicking back and forth with the time stone. But we don't get enough definitive indication, which, like we said, like 10 more minutes of the movie could have kind of really substantiated that, to see that like he can see all this stuff many different ways, many different times, and fairly quickly. So that's why it's something that you really have to reinforce that can happen, and then that boomerang back to that moment probably wouldn't feel so bad to people like yourself, and it would be more likely that people would like it. Or it could just feel, some people, because you can't please everyone, regretfully, and it's just the movie just didn't have enough gumption to probably get outside of a trope like this, because it is tropey. There's no doubt that it's tropey and told a little bit differently than a lot of those fun little tropes that it's always been a dream, because it's essentially a version of that. But for whatever reason, it worked for me, and I think because those moments that were implied of what his abilities were, and I kind of read into that, I think is probably why that that pullback didn't feel tropey.
I think for me, it's just the inconsistency is really what it comes down to. It's just at one moment it's this, but then we're gonna also let him be able to do this, and it just didn't land for me. But it didn't make it. It didn't make it a movie. I'm not gonna sit here and say like I'll never watch Next again, because if somebody was like, hey, you want to watch Next, and I got nothing else going on, I'd probably watch it again.
It's not a it's not. I'm pretty sure we brought this up the last time I was on talking about my worst movie. It's not House of the Dead.
Yeah, no, it's not unwatchable. Cage is good. You know, other performances are fine. It's just, it's kind of one of those, like, I'm not going to seek it out to watch it a second time necessarily, but I wouldn't refuse it and I wouldn't avoid it. It just sort of is there.
Yeah, it's not
what we said. It's that meh. It's that middle of the road.
Yeah, it's a fun flick. It's not significantly memorable.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a few good moments, but you're not like thinking of like, I've got to see this movie again.
Right.
As soon as it comes out on, out of theaters or whatever, or go back to theaters and see it. It's definitely not quite to that level.
Yeah. And it's in the lower, it's in the lower half of Nic Cage movies for me in terms of there's a lot of his movies that I really do enjoy and make me think and make me want to go back and watch them. And
yeah, I think if we just put it out in a half range, I would probably agree. Like I haven't seen a lot of bad Nic Cage movies, but I think because of certain things, like the equivalent of a direct-to-DVD type of movie is why I haven't seen some of those. So they're probably not great. But the one I remember, and I only gave it a chance because I felt like it was one of those Netflix movies that were coming out, and just Netflix threw a bunch of money at it. But it was like, I can't remember if there was some extra to this, but it was Tai Chi, something like that.
No, Jiu-Jitsu.
Was Jiu-Jitsu? Thank you.
Yeah.
That was bad.
Yeah, it was real bad.
And it takes a lot, as we established last time we were on, it takes a lot for me to think a movie was bad.
Mm-hmm. Oh, same. And Jiu-Jitsu is bad. This is not that. This is better than that.
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely.
For sure. But I mean, if you're going to.
Nick Cage movies have a line that's lower on the scale to say something is good, just based off the movies themselves and how many movies there are.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is definitely in the lower half of movies overall. Like, if we're not grading on a scale, I guess, or is it actually grading on a scale? I know the term. I've never been graded on a scale, so I don't know.
I mean, yeah, if we're grading on a curve, we're grading on a curve with Nic Cage, and look, he has so many movies that I really enjoy watching. I love the National Treasure movies. Lord of War is great. I enjoyed Sorcerer's Apprentice. I like Gone in 60 Seconds. Like, these are all movies that if you say, hey, well, I want to watch a Nic Cage movie, I'm picking all of those well before I get to Next. But
yes, there's definitely a lot. Like, for me, I think there's probably 4 Nic Cage movies that I would rewatch more than anything else, and we're talking about The Rock, Con Air, and both National Treasure flicks.
Yeah, I throw Face Off in that list.
Yeah, Face Off's in there too, but I think less like, if I'm just thinking about Nic Cage, but like obviously Nic Cage is a big part of Face Off, but it's kind of hard to take Travolta out of that movie in kind of association,
sure.
But yeah, no, they're 100%. Like, Nick's got more good movies, and then a fairly large amount of great movies than a lot of people do. Single actors.
And I love all the choices he makes, whether they work or not.
That's true.
They're great. And in this movie, it was the hair. The hair was a choice.
Somebody's choice.
Somebody's choice.
It was a little bit off, but it just barely works. It's just, like I said, for the reasons I gave, it just barely works.
It's memorable. Well, I'll say that.
It is memorable.
So yeah. No, Preston, thank you so much for coming back on and closing out Cage-A-Palooza with me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. You're eventually going to run out of Cage movies, and this is going to be interesting. If you guys
I am, but I still have so many. I still have so many that
Yeah,
I can
because
do.
you probably have to go below that line then.
Oh, at some point I will. I mean, I've done
Yeah.
jujitsu for this show, so I have
I'm
dabbled.
sorry, people
I
that have
dipped
seen
my
that
toe
episode.
in
Nothing
that.
against you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick Cage is definitely an iconic person, and I was thinking about it earlier. I'm like, if you do run out of movies for some reason, or choose like a certain level to not watch, who would be your next like August focus? I wonder. Like what?
That's a tough one. It's tough because
He's
Cage is such
iconic
a
for being an
singular.
odd person,
Yeah.
but still being really good on most of the stuff he does.
Although I will say I'm not too concerned because he has 117 credits on IMDb right now, and I'm probably in the middle 30s in movies of his that I've covered for the show.
True.
So
he's because he's still got a lot of not as memorable but still good movies from like the probably late 80s and definitely a lot in the 90s.
well, plus he
yeah,
was so prolific for a period of time. I mean, 2024 alone, he had 3 movies released, and that's a slow year. Like,
what were the other two?
well, it was Long Legs, The Surfer, and Arcadian were all 2024.
Yeah, I knew Long Legs.
And then like 2023, he had like 5 or 6 movies that he was a part of. Granted, one of those was just a cameo in The Flash, but like Dream Scenario, The Retirement Plan, Sympathy for the Devil, Renfield, The Old Way were all 2023. So like he's still putting stuff out, and he's going to keep working for as long as he wants to, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, he's probably going to do what like Morgan Freeman is doing, that kind of thing, because I don't know how he still does stuff, but he's still doing it, which is good.
Which is great.
But yeah, no, I'm always pleased to come on because I'd like to find something that, and I can only imagine it's difficult for you to find something that is enjoyable, or someone wants to sit down and talk about, and then that because I'm a fairly prolific movie watcher, so to find something I haven't seen, I feel like is probably difficult. And if it isn't, because there's a few big movies that I haven't seen just because they didn't click with me, but I'd watch them for something like this. But I'm pretty sure you've done an episode on them already. Like,
I mean, it's possible, but
I haven't seen Shawshank, and there's a number of movies like that I haven't seen, but
we all have our blind spots.
I've been very glad with the 2 movie choices, so I've got to feel like I'm going to have to focus on time travel.
It seems to be the thing. Yeah, time travel when I'm talking with Preston. No, this has been a lot of fun, so thank you so much. If you enjoy this conversation, if you as the listener like this conversation, come hang out with us on a Sunday night at twitch.tv/tvstravis. You can watch it live, but show's always out as a podcast every Wednesday, wherever you get your podcasts. Or if you decide that you want to be a patron, you can get shows a few days early before everyone else does. And you can also help me to decide on movies sometimes. I do my first watch diaries, which I'm going to be starting up the series Wednesday here pretty soon. And be doing those. Those are always a lot of fun. I'm going through series episode at a time and just giving my thoughts on the first time I'm watching it, just raw thoughts on it. So that's kind of mini episodes that patrons get. So, yeah, you can check that. You can find all that stuff at tvstravis.com. There's links to the Patreon, to the merchandise. And look there because I plan to put a few things up as I am going to Dragon Con. As you're listening to this in the feed, I am in Atlanta at Dragon Con, unless it is after 2025. But either way, I'm on my way there. I'm doing the show live there. I'm doing a few more panels. So it's going to be a ton of fun. I cannot wait. You can find all that information at tvstravis.com or tvstravis on all the socials. That's me. Preston, do you have anything you want to tell people about before we get out of here?
When my ADHD brain actually allows me to edit the last episode that I actually recorded with a fellow friend of ours, certain Claire Gack from the wonderful island across the pond, I will have I'll start bringing it back, my podcast Melancholy Geek. My life is becoming more busy, so my brain will probably be like, I don't want to do that busy work, so I'm going to edit this audio. But yeah, they can go back and check out some of the last 10 or so episodes of Melancholy Geek at melancholygeek.com. It's basically a show that evolved into me and a guest talking about their experiences of the geek culture and also mental illness. So just getting both of those things and just getting those kind of more serious things about mental illness and their experiences and where they live, but then kind of going more upbeat with talking about, their appreciation for geeks, how they became a geek, what geek means to them.
Nice.
And it's a fun show, but apparently, as much as I still loved doing that earlier this year with Claire, I cannot get myself to edit it. But so unless I can get somebody that's very inexpensive editor, it might take some time. But I definitely want to get back into doing that. I've gotten some other of our Frog Pants collabs that have been interested in doing that too. So I may just keep recording and eventually put it up in the world. But yeah, they can check out some of the last couple of episodes, get a feel for the show. It's a number of years old. But other than that, I'm out on the internet. I'm a part of the Frog Pants community, so you can definitely find us there. Always hanging out and whatnot. But find me on the internet.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been a blast. We'll do it again sometime. And until next time, until Dragon Con for some of you, but until the next episode, just remember to enjoy your movies, even if you can see 2 minutes into the future, and be excellent to each other.
At that point, Alpha and Bravo will swarm the entrance.
If you could just be quiet and do exactly what I say, I'll save your life.
That's right. I will save your life.
No, I will save your life.